What's the deal? It's your boy Jason Mike, Mr. Athletic Over Everything for no hobbies, only obsessions, and my clothing brand, Athletic Over Everything. Now, as you guys can see behind me, I have a Racoma 2-head 1502 embroidery machine. And if you follow me, you know that I'm a professional power lifter slash athlete. I do a bunch of different things. About 6-7 years ago, I set out on starting my own clothing line. And the premise around the clothing line was basically me. I was going to use my popularity in powerlifting, where I'm a world champion and one of the greatest bench pressers of all time. And I decided I was going to sell to people who rock with me. That was a mistake, but that was just in terms of having a clothing line or something like that. But I started getting into doing my own garments, and that was a very critical time, because originally I had no desire to make my own shirts, you know, pressing them, vinyl, or even screen printing. I wound up getting involved with doing my own shirts. I came up with a concept. I went to a screen printer. The guy kind of messed up my shirt. It was a very small mess up, but it still wasn't what I wanted. And around this time is when I started seeing Stan Banks, you know, encouraging people to do your own garment decorating. I believe A-Dub was around at the time. He was doing a lot of embroidery stuff, but I saw people making their own stuff, and I was like, you know what, I could do that as well. So I go out, buy a machine, a Heat Press Nation heat press. Actually, that was the later. I first started off with an Amazon press, which was a disaster. My first run of shirts people bought, and all of them almost got returned because I didn't realize that the paint off of the press was chipping or bleeding onto the shirt, so they had black stains on all the white shirts, and I wound up losing a bunch of money on that because of that machine. So I went and invested in a Heat Press Nation heat press, which was like $600-700, and there was nothing wrong with that heat press, but I'm one of those kind of people. I go all in, and I found out about Hotronics, and I wound up buying, you know, the big one, you know, the 20x6, 16x20 heat press. Spent $3,000 for one because I wanted to make sure I didn't have any excuses for my prints. Damn, mosquitoes in here. I didn't want to have any excuse for my prints not coming out like I wanted, so I went and spent the money. And that was one of the first lessons that I learned, is that you need to find reliable equipment so that you can be consistent when you're pressing. You know, you're gonna have different situations. Like the one thing with my heat press, it cost $3,000, but the one thing about it is it's always worked. It's never no hot spots. It's consistent. It just keeps turning it out, keeps turning it out. So I recommend, you know, spending the extra money when you can on getting the best you could possibly afford. If that means, you know, buying something cheap to get you going and then you upgrade, I believe in upgrading. So as I went along with this, you know, I'm selling shirts, you know, people are, you know, rocking the stuff, and I started wanting to get more and more into what I was doing. And I bought this machine. It's not 2 years yet. It's like, you know, a year and a half ago. Now, I made a huge mistake purchasing this machine, and it's twofold. And you know, you're gonna have people who are shielders, or you know, that take up for these companies and stuff like that. I'm not going to say the mistake is because of the brand. It would have been a mistake if I would have bought, you know, a top, well, I can't think of the name, but like one of the $50,000-$60,000 2-head printing, embroidery machines. I did have a bunch of issues getting this machine to work, where I could actually make somewhat professional level embroidery. It took a lot of work to get it down with the designs that I wanted to do. But the number one mistake is you need to make sure you have embroidery business before you go out and spend you know, $27,000 on an embroidery machine. Now the other thing is I paid for it cash, and with me paying for it cash, I didn't want to deal with notes. I didn't want to deal with the pressure of like, hey, I need to get this thing to make me some money so I could pay this equipment off. I just paid it outright just so I wouldn't have to worry about it, take some of the pressure off of me having to pay a note or something like that every month. I think I should have thought out what designs I was going to be selling. You know, if those designs work, would people want to buy hats from me as a brand? Now, most of you guys out there aren't doing your own clothing line. You guys are becoming print companies. You guys want to produce items and garments for other people, and that was something I wasn't trying to do. You know, even my pride or whatever, there'll be times my machines aren't working and I could be using that time to print up shirts for other people, but me, I have a clothing line. I didn't want to do that, you know, and that was probably a mistake as well. Now I wanted to get into the machine a little bit and just tell you guys some of the mistakes that I made early on. I'm gonna make a bunch of videos because I have a lot of experience now dealing with this particular machine and some of the downfalls that have come along with the machine. I believe before you buy this machine, I think you need to get someone to digitize your files of the designs that you want to produce. I think you need to go through different vendors for your garments. You need to find out what hoodies you're going to use. You want to find out what hats you want to use, what type of hats. You want to find out what type of vinyl that you're going to use. You want to find out whatever it is that you want to do. Go and source these things in small quantities so that you can get a feel for what it is that you're selling. You can't see behind me, but when I first started, I thought I was going to make all these different shirts. So I went out and bought every color and every size of a particular style. So let's say a Gildan, right? I went out and bought a bunch of these shirts, and they weren't tearaway tagged. So when I started making shirts, and then I realized, wait a minute, I want to start putting my own brand on the shirts. That shirt that I was buying was no longer going to work. Now I done bought 15 different colors, 5 shirts in each size. So I spent thousands of dollars on blanks that I don't want my business associated with. So I wound up just eating a bullet on those shirts, and then I started like seeing what shirts that I like. Like if you're gonna buy a soft sponge shirt, you're gonna go with Bella Canvas, you're gonna go with some all style or whatever the case may be. You should find that out before you start producing your shirts. What kind of shirt is it going to be? Is it a athletic type fit shirt, or is it a thicker shirt? You need to find that out before you get too far into printing up shirts and stuff like that. Also, do some test runs with the designs and stuff. Get some shirts printed and go to a gym, or go out to a club or a party or something like that to see what kind of vibe you get when people see the shirts or the garments that you're making. One of the things with me, I'm very creative, and I came up with a bunch of really cool shirt ideas after I made so many mistakes with early on, that I started realizing some of the issues that I was having was caused by me not wanting to get outside recommendations or things like that from other people. I wanted it to be all on me. But you learn as you go with this. It's not something that is overly hard. If you have good concepts, you don't mind putting yourself out there, you know, for your brand, or you know, being able to go up to people and say, hey, I could provide the service for you, you know, you could do well. But part of my personality is kind of, I'm a little cool. I'm not going to be overly like in your face trying to sell you my garments. So it makes it hard to you know, run a clothing business as an owner, but I'm also the model, I'm also everything, and I'm not talking. You're just seeing me do things like, oh, you watch me lift all this weight in this shirt. Yeah, I want one of those shirts. And that's pretty hard to game plan and market a company around. So that is something that I learned. So figure out what hats that you want to go with, because you're going to have certain hats that don't hoop well, depending on what type of hoop you have, that might affect the design. So you need to go and get a couple of different hat designs, a couple of different styles, and see how they work with your designs. And if you do that, that'll give you a better outcome for success. So now that I get the machine, I get the embroidery machine, right? And when I get this embroidery machine, I'm thinking more along, I want to start selling hats. I think my design, my the designs that I sell on my shirts, I think they're pretty cool, and I believe they'll pop extra hard with the embroidery. But at the time, I had absolutely no embroidery business. So I watch people hoop these machines with the hoops that come with the embroidery machine. I didn't want that, so I went and bought the magnetic, the magic hoops or whatever, or the mighty hoops. So I bought two. I had to buy two because I have two heads, so I had to go and buy two of every hoop that I thought I would need. And this is where I made another huge mistake. Since I did not have the hoops in hand, I didn't know anyone that had a machine, I bought a bunch of hoops that I don't even use. I bought like these long sleeve hoops that technically don't even work because of the application. You know what I'm saying? So I wasted $350 for two hoops that I would never use in my business. So be very diligent in what you're doing. If you can go to one of these expos and get your hands on some of these products, you won't make some of the mistakes that I made early on. But the mighty hoops are pretty amazing. They do make it very easy for you to line up your garments and make sure that your garment is secure before you actually put on the hoop. But I kind of want to say this for this particular video. I was very focused on hats, right? So when I first started, I thought buying the cheapest hats would give you the best margin, but then you start realizing I wouldn't want to put my brand on a $2 hat or a $1.50 hat. You know what I'm saying? So I started playing around with different company hats and came up with like, all right, I want to use auto hats and I want to use Dickie hats, and those are the hats that I'm gonna use. Now, in the process of me deciding on what hat I was going to go with, I wound up spending probably over $1,000 messing up hats. I had a bunch of issues with the designs that I had digitized and running them on these machines. And every time I had so many hats up front, I would just mess up a hat, get another one, mess up a hat, get another one, not realizing that every time I messed up a hat, it was $5, $6. If it was one of the corduroy style hats, you know, you're talking about, you know, $11 for one of the more expensive hats. So you got something like this that has like the vinyl bill, and this is like a really nice hat. But I started realizing that this in particular embroidery machine was having issues doing the designs that I had over the front of the hats. Like you got Richardson hats, which are top of the line hats, but they have a super hard shell. And with my designs and 3D puff and all that stuff, breaking needles, I was going through it, man, and I wasted so much money getting this stuff done. So find out the items that you have in mind in terms of embroidery. This is just to start off, and this is a light video to get you started. Find out what you want to sell with your embroidery machine, like what items you think you're going to sell. Like you do know that the embroidery machine is really rough on shirts, so you plan on doing hoodies with embroidery. You want to do certain types of shirts with different thicker material to give it a more pristine look or more prestigious look, luxurious look. You need to figure that out, and I would figure that out before you go out and buy one of these machines. I think you know, spending, you know, $300 to $500 on an order, a small order, and let someone else who has a machine with the expertise go through, print up your stuff, and give you an idea of if it's something that you actually want. Don't get caught up in these influencers, you know, pushing this product on you. And that's another video that I'm gonna come up with next. And I want to give you just a heads up on things you see with people who are incentivized to sell you stuff. I got into a lot of that listening to some of these people, not realizing at first that these people are trying to get you to use their promo codes, and they're telling you this is the best heat transfer, and this is the best blank to use, and this is the best, not realizing that they're saying this because they're pitching something that they get a return from. So I hope this particular video will help some of you guys. I'm gonna make a bunch of videos just dealing with some of the ins and outs of running a company, like my own company, not so much doing garment decoration for other people. I can only give you like my experience that I've gone through, and to be honest with you, I've sold a bunch of items from my clothing line, but the way I went about doing it could have just been so much different. If I would have had someone that made the mistakes or had more knowledge that I trusted, I would have went a whole different way. One, to be honest with you, the machine it's okay, but I would have bought I think it's Tajma, I can't think of the name offhand, but I would have probably bought the more expensive embroidery machine because the work is so much cleaner. It's just cleaner. Like, these are good machines and everything, but those high-end embroidery machines are high-end for a reason. And you know, I had the money to make that investment, but I was cutting corners on some things I shouldn't have. But overall, the machine is fine. You have to figure out how you want to go about your digitizing. Your digitizing files are super important with this stuff. You know, find someone who's really good at digitizing the items that you want to create. Now, you also can learn how to digitize yourself. I just don't have time for it. You know, a lot of these companies charge between, you know, $10 to $15, $20 per design to digitize the file. It takes like a day or two, or sometimes same day. I'd much rather give those people that money, and so I can just worry about producing the final outcome. But I hope you guys can get something from this particular video. I will be making a bunch more videos just talking about some of the things that you might need, some equipment, certain necessities. And the good thing about me, I have no affiliations with no companies. Everything I'm telling you is raw, and it's coming from someone who actually owns the equipment outright. I didn't finance anything. I paid for it cash. Not saying that was 100% right, but I'm just showing that this is just an honest opinion, or my actual situation that I had to deal with this particular equipment. If you go back and look at some of my other videos, I talk about my experience getting the machine with Rick Homa and getting it set up and having someone train me. I talk about those horror stories, but at some point I did get the machine running my designs decent enough to produce some high quality stuff. So just be on the lookout for more videos. You also, if you guys want to support my business, my company, it's athletikovereverything.com. I sell signature wrist wraps. I sell my apparel. I got some really cool apparel that people, you know, very lighthearted, you know, like, you know, bench hub and some of the other designs that I have. But this is Jason Mike for athletikovereverything.com and No Hobbies, Only Obsessions. Until next time, later.